If you can see my screen and if you can hear me, could you just type yes into the chat, please? So, because it's so great to start by seeing yes from Burgos, yes from Fauzi, yes, yes. Lovely. If there are any no's, I'll let Kevin look after those. But otherwise, welcome. Can you believe that this is our last webinar? Because I really can't believe it's happened so quickly. And I think it's because it's 3 weeks since the first webinar, of course. That's what's happened. It's actually just 3 weeks since we started. So in webinar 4, the final webinar, as ever, it's divided into our 2 parts. The first part will just look back at some of the contributions from last week, which was focused on pedagogy. And then I'll introduce you to a couple of things: mobile learning, adaptive learning, and then what's happening in the final week. So let's start with a look about pedagogy. And I believe that pedagogy is absolutely central to the success of blended learning. We can talk about platforms, we can talk about teachers, we can talk about many different things, but when we talk about technology, if the pedagogy is right, if you feel happy with the principles behind what you're doing, I think that lots of other things will fall into place. And I'm going to tell you a very short story just to illustrate this. We looked in the course at train tracks, and the idea that many blended courses are called dual track. You have the face-to-face on one side, you have the online on the other, and sometimes those tracks are beautifully integrated, which is usually successful, and sometimes there is very little integration. Very typically, the teacher is so busy, they haven't had time to look at some of the exercises on the CD-ROM that the students have. So the students come to class and they say, excuse me, on the disc, it said something that was very different to what you said in class. And the teacher suddenly realizes maybe the tracks are not so integrated. So in the area of grammar, let's have a look at 2 typical approaches. You have classroom and you have online. So the approach I usually take, of being me, is I use my classroom to present the new structures, and then we have practice. And as we've seen, often there's not enough time to do the practice. And so the students go online and they do extra practice. So that's one way of viewing blended learning. Let's look at a completely different way, and this is what happened in the huge project set up by Cambridge University Press and also the laureate schools across South America, and they trialed and researched Touchstone. And they asked the teachers, what do you want from the face-to-face? And all the teachers said exactly the same thing. We want communication. We want our students to talk to each other. We don't want them to necessarily do some of the more boring bits of language learning. So the platform is used where the Touchstone materials are there to present each grammatical concept. You do the presentation online, and then you do the initial practice, and then you come to class a bit like flipped learning, and you are ready to discuss it. To me, that's the exact opposite. Mike McCarthy was describing this situation as the materials, the interactive exercises, have to do much of the work of the teacher in a situation of self-study. They have to present. And I wouldn't be happy as a teacher if I knew all the grammar presentations came from published materials. And so there you have one concept, grammar, but 2 wholly different approaches. This will happen with the flipped class. Many teachers don't want the students to find out about grammar from a YouTube video clip. for example, they want to make their own clip. And that comes back again and again to, are you using publisher materials? Are you creating your own? And I hope that you have felt on this course that neither is being given as the answer, but what is being suggested is that there are many different approaches, and if we think through the pedagogy, then we will achieve our own understanding of how to proceed. So last week you had a look at grammar, vocabulary, listening, reading, speaking and writing, and finally phonology in terms of blending the two sides. This was the result of the poll. On the right hand side you can see that everybody who was involved in the poll, and I took that from the chat, had a plus. So Tere was a double plus as a real lover of many of these interactive activities. Everyone else on this course who voted had a plus. Some people might be neutral, but it's already interesting that exercises to help students are viewed in a positive light. So I also asked the question, what about your students' view? And we found, I believe, a lot of analytical learners love this environment, and also some relaxed students do as well. It's not anything that you would say only analytical students like these exercises. But in the course material last week, you had a look at how in the area of grammar, the teacher has a role in the class, and the exercises may have a different role in the online environment or self-study. And it's very, very interesting, the big difference between online and self-study. Online could be you are working in an online environment and doing exercises, whereas self-study has been created specifically for when there is no teacher at all. And so the rubric is different. It's quite interesting that self-study materials are, if you like, can be seen as sometimes as different. Could I give you an example of that? If you took 100% self-study course, would you ever finish it? Many students in Finland said to me, Pete, we love self-study. We love sitting alone at our computer and doing lots of exercises. No, it's nice to communicate, but I like doing self-study. So go to a shop. I saw my partner, Julie, buy a Spanish course. How much did she pay? The Spanish course is here, by the way, guys. It's on the shelf. Did she finish it? No. Very important for MOOCs. Start a MOOC. There are thousands of people. Will you finish the course? When it's 100% self-study, the dropout rate is very interestingly higher, which is why really we have this whole course talking about blended. You know, does that make a difference that there is a teacher somewhere? Okay, so vocabulary. We looked at things like Quizlets, possibly, to help outside of the room, receptive skills. These were all the situations that you went through last week. Listening, that's really moved out of the classroom. Reading and using graded readers, ebooks now. I'm just off on holiday, guys, soon. And the one thing I'm packing is my ebook reader, I'll tell you, with lots and lots of nice things to take. Okay, speaking. What kind of things do we do in our discussion classes when everybody's in a circle? Can you do the same online? Well, here we have a very nice example. There are 8 people here, I think, in our webinar, so we can do some speaking, but I'm sure we'll notice how massively different it is when we're not all in the same room, how we're doing turn taking, and maybe you can speak in turn, but it's much more difficult. Maybe in the last 5 minutes we'll open it and say, okay guys, say whatever you want now, and see if it's complete chaos or whether we can have a nice last 5 minutes saying goodbye to each other. But it's very different, I think. Writing skills really have been helped tremendously, and there was a very nice project, that homework that somebody posted last week on that. Pronunciation, once again, what do you do in class? What do you do in the self-study area. So this was your planning sheet. Thank you very much to everybody who planned out their lesson. I must make a very small apology now because I haven't been able to access my English 360 platform this morning. This sometimes happens. I'm being honest with you. No program's perfect, and Valentina no doubt will let me in whenever she reads her email, so I can't really comment on a lot of the things that you've written, but I will pause for a moment in case you want to say anything at all about the sequences that you created. So this was one sequence that was created over the weekend. I think you've been into the forum and seen some of these. But the one thing I noted was that this is numbered, so you can see number 1, and that happens in the classroom. Then you go across to number 2, where the students are working with Edmodo, and then we come back to the classroom, students sharing their ideas in groups, and then we go back to online, which is a fabulous place for working with students reading, back to the classroom, and then the very, very final part of this sequence being online. So I thought that was a really nice illustration of exactly what we were aiming for here. The fact that as teachers, we think beyond the classroom now. We're not just thinking about what's happening in the classroom. So I would just like to say at this point that this is a good moment just to say anything at all. If you would like to make a contribution about what you took away from task 1, this is a great moment. Please just wave or to send Kevin a message. He can unmute you, and please contribute if you'd like to look back, say anything about your sequence. Please, as again, accept my apology. I haven't read everybody's work yet. Some people may not have posted, and this is a fantastic example of you can work at your own speed. You can do whenever you want. But isn't it interesting how many people do things right at the end, just before the deadline, things are being posted up. So this is a typical course like that. So over to you guys. Would you like to say anything about task 1?
Guys, if you want to, I think the easiest way is if you, assuming it doesn't descend into chaos, if you unmute yourself, that's probably the easiest way. If you,
Yes,
right.
I would like to say something if I can.
Okay, Ross.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Yes, that the way you order the face-to-face and the online, it's nice. It's nice to see it. And although I have already tried with my team at Tech to work on this flipping learning, we did it.
Yeah.
We have a class with flipping learning. It helped me to organize and to have the sequence. So I think it was very useful. We have planned in another way. We had another organization, but I like this one. And I think it's helpful.
Thank you very, very much, Rossa. Please forgive me for laughing, because flipping is an adjective, of course, in English, and it means something completely different. So if you say flip, no, you must say flipped learning. Flipped learning. And don't say all this crazy flipping learning, because accidentally it changes your meaning completely.
No.
We'll always smile. So
well, I noticed it, but I didn't want to interrupt myself.
No, don't worry.
So just go on.
Right.
Yes, but this it was very helpful. I think I'm going to use it if I can, if I am allowed to.
Yeah. Well, I liked creating that template because for the very first time I could see if you just change the heading, you have flipped learning. So you could start the whole sequence outside the class and then bring it back in and so on. So thank you very much, Rossa, for that. Anybody else? Yeah, Nadia, I think, is raising her hand.
Burgos indicated earlier.
Sure.
So, if you want to go first and then Nadia.
Okay.
Oh, well, I'm sorry. I'm sorry,
No,
Nadia.
that's okay.
Well, I just wanted to say that to me it was fascinating analyzing more critically the steps to create a blended course. Because, as you know, I work mostly online, and of course, there is a sort of face-to-face interaction, but not that critically thought. We usually just send students the instructions in how to access the platform and how to, go through the different exercises that are online. But I really liked working more critically with this, so I can realize that students need kind of certain preparation in order to work freely and with confidently with online instruments or online tools. And well, that's it. I just loved it. Just love it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Burgos. Thank you. So we'll move now to Nadia.
I just want to add that having the lesson in this way, the sequences, allows the teacher to see the connection or to make the connection between what's going to be taught in class and what has been taught online. And that can be motivated for students so that they see the link between both courses.
Yeah, I'm glad that you said that. I think subliminally you have integration there. And I remember talking to people in Spain who are using the English 360 platform, and they said that a lot of the teachers are new to the company. They don't really know the platform, and they think that they are teaching in class. And what in fact they're doing is teaching in class, but they have this platform. And they noticed that the number of people using the platform really went up when the teacher speaks about it in class. When the teacher says, okay, that's great, don't forget on your platform tonight you have to do this. And when the platform the materials on the platform refer to the class. So in class, you looked at this, and I think it's all helping that blend. I'll tell you a story because it's our last webinar, guys. Please don't tell this to anybody else. This is a secret story just for our group. But Macmillan English Campus, started as self-study material. That people in Brazil created a bank of self-study material because they watched the kids. The kids loved games. The kids wanted to play games all the time. And the teachers were saying, look, if they are shooting down an aeroplane, but it's a present simple aeroplane or a present continuous aeroplane, they're going to be really motivated. So they created these, and they kept saying to the students, don't forget to use your self-study materials. And the students kept saying, we forgot to use our self-study materials. Don't forget to use your self-study materials. Oh, sorry, teacher, we forgot to use them. So they brought them into the class. You know, the Cultura bought electronic data projectors in order to show the material in class. So the self-study material began to be brought into the class as a way of encouraging people to use it. And once you had the material in class, the teachers were going, oh, wow, we could just use some of this stuff in our face-to-face lessons. So it's quite interesting that that was the history of how the blended approach from Macmillan was created from self-study materials. And it's worth distinguishing teaching where you are using tech in class, which could be a face-to-face course, and a blended course where the tech can be used in class, but of course it's critical that it's used between classes. Okay, well, we've had a look at the first task, so we're going to move on now to the second task. I do hope that you have enjoyed reading your case, or if you haven't read it, that you will enjoy reading your case, depending on where you're up to. And thank you if you were able to get into the Padlet. I think, Nadia, you got in after I sent you the link. So, Rosa, I'll do the same for you. I'll send you that link, and I'm sure you'll be able to. So we could see what people were reading. So I'm going to read out each of the names of people that read something. And if you want to say something, this is a good moment. Now, blended learning now is so big, isn't it? And just in that one book, this was the first time lots of cases were put together from around the world to really look at what's happening in all these different places. So there are many, many things happening in different parts of the world. And each one, I think, is interesting. It adds to the volume and the quality of what we know about blended learning. So the first section was EAP. The second section was ESP. The third one was ELT, or General English, and then a couple of participants from Mexico went into the second area, which is absolutely fine. This is a fantastic area, which is the teacher development part, which was part 2. Let's just start in the EAP area, and Nadia chose to read the article about EAP working in Nigeria, and Jesus chose an EAP writing course. Then we moved to ESP, where Fauzi, who's with us, chose to look at the case about wikis in business English, and then finally general English. And our participants from Venezuela, Cindy and Maria Teresa, sadly aren't here in this webinar, but I'll just go through everybody's name in case you would like to say something. And what I'm thinking of is, you started this course with an idea about blended learning, and I hope that at the end of the course, maybe you may have a similar view. That's absolutely fine. But also your view has been enriched by other perspectives, and you may say, but I feel really happy in the way that I view this. Or you may have been radically changed by something, and you may simply say, wow, you know, I never knew that Macmillan English Campus, for example, was there. It's absolutely amazing. I think really I need to get to know that more. So something may have changed you. So this was just a chance to reflect on something that you thought about in your summaries. So if you'd like to share anything, and you don't have to, of course, but this is a good moment, and I'll start with Nadia, because I know you wanted to read this, but I have no idea if you managed to read it at all. So I'll just pause for a second, just in case you would like to say something. Nadia.
I try to go over most of the articles, and
Wow.
I like the Nigerian one because of the low resources context, and we didn't have all what is necessary to make that blended learning program successful. But they did their best, both the students and the teachers, to have a successful project with good results for students.
Right. Thank you very much. And thank you for saying low resource context, because I think this affects many people, and even on this course, if you're in that situation. Thank you. Jesus, is there anything that you'd like to say at this point?
Hi. Yes, I feel completely related with this article because I also teach writing in one of my classes. Well, in 2 actually, but and one of the things the author mentioned is that they needed something that was free on their context, because they didn't want to use the one from university, and they want to use that one. And the thing that caught my attention is that she focused on saying in one part that it is important to train students on not only how to use the platform, but also, since it's a writing class, on how to provide feedback or how to do it, because students are just not used on how to do it.
Right.
Oh,
great. Thank you, Jesus. Thanks for that. I think we all heard that. It was a little bit rocky because of the connection, but that's great. Thanks so much. And I'm going to move on to Fauzi now, who was in a business English context. Fauzi, is there anything that you'd like to add to the reflections?
Well, thank you, Pete. Indeed, I just posted the case study this morning.
Oh, okay.
Both assignments indeed. Well, I chose to work on this or to review this because it reflects my case. I happen to have a back preliminary class and at the same time business English classes. And what I walked away with is now blended learning is not a luxury or a fashion. It's a question of necessity, if you like, okay? And that's very important. That stresses indeed the importance of blended learning for those who are not convinced yet, if you like. That's the first. Then Louise Ingham indeed advanced very useful tips to, if you like, to use a wiki. Okay, I have been, I would say, hesitant with the use of wikis. Now I would say I will diversify. I've been using Google Plus a lot. Now I will try to use wikis afterwards.
Great.
That's what I would like.
Thank you very, very much, Fauzi. And before we move on, I would just say in Poland, I was talking to teachers about using wikis, and they said the students didn't like the wikis because they only wanted to get their mark from the teacher. And even though the teacher said the wiki is created for team building, there was a lot of resistance with people saying, I don't want to work in a team. I want to pass the course and I want my mark from the teacher. And it was quite interesting, this resistance. But of course, if you look at English as a global language, everybody would say that probably nowadays in the world, building a team building skill is important. But it's quite interesting, these areas of teacher resistance. Okay, we're going to move on to section 2 of the book. There you have a picture of Nick Peachy, who lives very close to me. He's just down the road with his Venezuelan wife, who has 10 bars of Venezuelan chocolate. Now I've come back from Venezuela, and it is a brilliant article about teacher development. But please notice the difference. Sections 1, 3, and 4 are about language teaching. Teacher training is different from language teaching. So Nick's blended project is brilliant, and he won an Elton for Bells, his project for Bells. It's about training teachers, and often people say if you put your training on a wiki, the teachers really can understand how a wiki works because of this. And also, I have never read case study number 7, Marta. I have to say that I haven't, but I think only Tere is here. So Tere, I'm just going to pause for a moment in case you would like to say something about your experience of reading Nick's article.
I liked it very much. I think he puts the philosophy of the blended learning into practice. Every step of his course reflects the philosophy of the blended learning all the time. I really liked it. I wish I could take that course myself, particularly the part where I get to go to England.
Oh, yes. Kevin and I were just talking about our necessity to come to Mexico as soon as possible for the sun. And
you'll be very welcome. No, but out of the joke, I really think this is a very well founded article. He has all the philosophy there and all the he explains it. He explains it very clearly in very simple words why all the things and the resources he puts into the course are there, and I like that.
Thank you very much, Terry, because you're probably influencing people's action plans now after the course. They could read your summary of what Nick has said on the platform, but I think many people will want to go away and read that article. I think people here on our course may be involved in teacher training, and the minute you are involved in teacher training in blended learning, then this is a very useful section. So, Marta, thank you for reminding me that your name is really L007-42593. So I'm going to hand over to L007-42593 in case Marta wants to say something about development of testing skills.
Thank you, Pete. Well, I was really attracted by the article because I feel that we have somewhat like that problem in Mexico. Teachers design their tests, and they really design. We really design them according to what we have experienced in our lives, and I'm not really sure we're doing the correct thing. Thankful for all the Cambridge tests that help us, but while the students reach the level to take those tests, I'm not really sure we're doing the correct thing. So the approach that the British Council had in China and help the Chinese teachers to accept the blended learning and changing their mindset was really interesting. I think we still have a chance here.
Right. Thank you. Thank you very much to Marta. And could I say one of the nice things about doing this course is that you have your copy, I hope. Please make sure you download it into your computer's hard drive. And if you forget to do that, don't worry. You can put in this as a search term, and the British Council are very generous in making this available. And I have such a busy life, I haven't read all the case studies here. So thank you for your summaries. That can help us if we can't always read everything. There's too much to read nowadays. And if you have any time, the introduction and the conclusion are very, very worthwhile. So thanks so much. We've come now to the middle of our webinar. We've had a look back at week 3, and I'm going to now take a look at the final week. And the most amazing news is there's only one thing to do in the final week, which is the final assignment. So you've really done most of the hard work now going through the course. But before I tell you about the final assignment, I'd like to update you on 2 critical developments in blended learning which have happened over the last few months and years, which is the growth of mobile learning and then the current insights into adaptive learning and what that is. And then I'll finish off with the final assignment. So mobile absolutely is adding a new dimension to blended, I think. It's the fact that so many people now actually have tablets. A few years ago, they would actually use their smartphones to access a Moodle course. Can you imagine how difficult it is to be on the beach with this screen trying to do your Moodle course here? But people were so motivated. And now, of course, it's much, much easier. You can go into English 360 here, and that has changed so many different things. So M-learning, and here is a definition. I hope everybody can read that. Learning that happens when the learner takes advantage of the opportunities which are offered online. And I think that even though we talk about mobile learning, it does mean sometimes bringing these out in class, but it also means using tablets while you're on the move. It's also, I think, really interesting when you have a look at this book, Going Mobile. If you do have a look, it's the sort of standard work, I think, for ELT. The fact that students are mobile. So before we do anything, if you think about it, they could be out in the streets or going through the university doing a treasure hunt. And of course, now they can do a treasure hunt using their phones. If you hold your phone over the cover of Gavin's book, then a video will open. This is now the whole area of augmented reality. So Nikki has put a video onto the front cover of her book. So if you are interested in seeing that video, you just download the app. So clearly things have changed. If you look at these LMSs, look how the interface is different now. You have Schoology is the top one, and I'm sorry, I still keep saying Schoolology. I don't know why. It's maybe I did Greek or Latin or something at school. But anyway, Schoology. Look how this is being created now for a mobile device. It's responsive web. So when you're there, it's not the same as looking at it on your PC. So that's really important. So are your classrooms ready for mobile? I think we might get a shock now because if you feel that within your classroom and your institution, your university, your school, generally speaking, students are encouraged to use their devices. Could you type Y for yes? And Nadia, thank you very much for typing Y. If you feel, generally speaking, there is a sign on the wall, you can usually see it, which says no mobiles, okay, type N. And then if it's changed, like my class is very difficult to describe. My pre-sessionals, usually I don't let them use their mobiles in week 1. I don't let them in week 2, but just little by little we change with the traffic light system. It's quite complicated. So thank you very much for voting. Yeah, and Ross has put yes for certain activities. That's interesting because so much depends on if you're on task. Phones have been called disruptive. It's a disruptive technology. They ring in the class. And my young Chinese learners love being in touch with their friends, with the English version of Facebook. They're always in contact with each other, so they're not on task. But one thing is clear, and this is the latest book about blended learning, which we mentioned in webinar 1, which is M-learning is perhaps the most modern incarnation and a key characteristic of one of the most of the modern varieties, which is the flipped classroom. So I think it's really worth saying that blended learning now and M-learning are sometimes subsumed under the term U-learning. U-learning means ubiquitous learning, that this breakdown between here's the classroom and here's the train, here's the flight you're taking, here's the hotel foyer, here's the cyber cafe. These are breaking down now, and students nowadays in this new world are able to learn in many, many different spaces. So I think it's worth saying on this course now that blended learning and mobile learning are very, very linked. And it's the same, if I can move on now to adaptive learning, or this new idea. Well, it's not new, it's been around for a long time, that computers can adapt to you. So if we start with the very best example of adaptive learning in English language teaching, which is placement tests. You guys in Mexico, maybe you have hundreds of people coming in September registering. How do you put them in different groups? And clearly having a test, which if you get 2 wrong, then it starts to change slightly, and then you get another question, and if you get this wrong, it's starting to go like this, but if you get it right, it will go up a little bit. So the test is constantly adapting. This is the area that we're in at the moment. So adaptive tests like these placement tests are very sound. They're very good. There's no question that if you have to test thousands of people and put them in groups, A1, B1, B2, an adaptive test will do most of the work for you, get them in roughly the correct group, and then you can start your course. So you can build adaptive quizzes in Moodle, and if my conversations with Kevin have been correct, you have to think a little bit about them. I don't think it's necessarily something that you can just do very, very easily or quickly. Kevin may correct me in the chat here, but clearly you can have these kinds of adaptions. Now, I think that this is quite different. The next step is some of the things that Nadia has been sharing with us in the platform, this idea that it's easier to follow different people because the actual program is changing slightly, constantly, always, depending on their answers. So this is the area that we're in, this kind of way that the platforms adapt. If you follow apps, this is a very interesting new app from Oxford University Press. And if you look on the right, you can see the example. I'm going to read it out. It says, Fariba something from Iran to Denmark when she was a child. So you type in your answer. So I typed in the answer, went. How about that? Fariba went from Iran to Denmark when she was a child. Is it correct? Now, last week, we did that whole idea of if you do an exercise on the web, it has to be correct, yes or no. And if it's not correct, it's really difficult for the program to analyze it. But here, the grammar, the spelling is right, the grammar is sort of okay, the meaning, the word choice, it's not quite right. So the app tells me, sorry, Pete, you're not quite right. So I tried, Fariba moved from Iran to Denmark, and this is better. This is actually correct. So the first one is possible, but not really right. And look at the stars. It's very interesting. On the right, I have all the stars correct, but on the left, something's a bit wrong. So this kind of technology is cutting edge, and it's worth testing because this is really where we are with adaptive learning. Quizlet, the latest version of Quizlet, is exactly the same. I'm going to read you those words. You'll be able to read them probably on the PDF, but it says, the Quizlet team is primed to announce long-term learning for Quizlet Plus, a set of tools and analytics for building cumulative knowledge. It learns what you know and increases repetition and study frequency. So spaced repetition is a big term now in vocabulary learning. How often the machine gives you review. So Quizlet is learning about you. So the computer learning about you, this is where we're in with adaptive learning. So let me finish by reading you the latest thing from the Cambridge book. Which San Pedro and Baker include the following descriptions of the increased sophistication of intelligent adaptive feedback systems, which will learn, and look at that, we learn as human beings, but the machine learns, in inverted commas, the behaviors of the system's users will become sensitive to their strengths and weaknesses and their moods and emotions. Now, I smile at this now, but we mustn't smile too much. It's quite interesting. As you put, my phone only allows me to use it if I put my fingerprint on it here. So am I sweating? Am I hot? Does my iPhone learn quite how I'm feeling? Mike McCarthy finishes this new book with everyone in the future can enjoy a one-to-one lesson delivered by a caring, sensitive computer. So at the moment, I still laugh. I still think of HAL. I think of 2001: A Space Odyssey, and the computer saying, "Good morning, Pete. How are you feeling today?" Then I go to the cinema and I see a film, with Joaquin Phoenix about how he falls in love with the computer voice. And what's interesting is thousands and thousands of dollars are being spent on voice recognition, speech recognition, and adaptive learning. So adaptive learning in terms of the LMS, the learning management system, this is what's happening at the moment, and they will affect the choice of platforms in the future. So if you're interested in that, that's a free handout. It's very simple. It talks about big data, and it tells you, Fauzi, this is just for your ears alone, it tells you why Longman are so interested, Pearson and Longman, in knowing those students' answers when they type them in, because they're collecting big data to help their programs know students better. So guys, thank you very much. That's what I wanted to say a little bit about the future. Let's just finish off by looking at your final assignment. And the final assignment really, to be honest, is just the logical development of everything that the course has been doing. It's just looking at your situation and writing a little bit about the why blended is chosen, how the course is being designed, and then the final two steps. So everything that you need is in here if you want to read the conclusion. Everything that you need, I'm going to present to you now in the next 5 minutes to tell you about your assignment. And everything that you need is in the platform under week 4. So week 4 is very, very short. And Tara, I'll be able to answer your question about the app. I can show it you later, but it's the Oxford English Vocabulary Development app, OEVD, I think. If I make a mistake, I'll just type it in. If you're interested in that app, it's really, really quite interesting. Okay, so a step-by-step approach. And I loved this book. It's helped me so much, this work by Whitaker. And so what she's going to do is to just take us through 4 steps. Those 4 steps are a framework to build a successful blended course. So are you ready, guys? I'm going to take you through the 4 steps. So step number 1 is context. And we said before, decide what are the reasons for blending. And one thing I will always remember from this course is somebody from Venezuela saying, hard currency is so difficult to get in Venezuela, we cannot afford printed course books for our students, and they can't afford them. So we have to use free digital materials. So that's a local contextual situation. Why are you blending? Is it because every school blends? You work in an area where every school is offering blended learning? I don't know. There must be a reason. But before you even begin, it's worth just checking what those reasons are and thinking about the reasons. And don't waste time on any limiting factors. So in other words, Tere or my friends from Mexico, if you say, in Mexico, we use Blackboard, you are not going to spend 12 years thinking, if only we could use Schoolology. We can't do that. I wish I could change everything, but you can't. You're in a situation, in your context, this is the platform that you use. Maybe there is a meeting next week which says, okay, guys, we don't want to use Blackboard anymore. We need ideas today. Which platform are we going to get? And then you have a totally different situation where maybe, you could perhaps choose a different one. Or if you're in a teacher training situation, I hope this course has helped you, because then you can say, okay, Blackboard's like Moodle, but it's actually different from Schoology. Or Eliademy, it's different, but we know that those things are out there. So just make a quick list, and probably your final assignment, which is about 1,000 words, it's not so long, 1,200 words, it's already been written because you've been making notes already about why. Then the first thing is the course design. What are you going to blend? So I've assumed that you are blending face-to-face with technology. But of course, it's not as simple as that. It's quite interesting. You might decide to blend face-to-face with a bank of self-study materials, and that is your blend. So the technology might be the course platform, but the course platform may just be a repository. Or the course platform might be a way of teaching. So your course platform is actually online teaching. But it's usual to talk about the face-to-face and the online mode. That's absolutely fine. So just to clarify, what are the 2 elements that you're blending? What's the lead blend going to be? And most people start with the classroom. So most people say we've had, in this year, only classroom teaching. There's not enough time, so we decided to do this. But Burgos, maybe he has a totally different starting point. Burgos is completely involved in an online school. So maybe the starting point is online. And one of the models that Nikki Hockley shared with us was the model where most of it is online, but every now and again you drop off into the school and pop in and have a face-to-face class. So that would be a completely different way of reaching it. But usually the lead mode is face-to-face. Which mode will set the pace? Nick Peach's article is very helpful here. Do you have your course dates? Do you set 2 weeks for blended? online work, and then you all come to Cambridge and meet face to face, and then you go back. So that means your dates set the course. It begins here and it ends here. Our course dates have been set by the platform. How much time will you spend in each mode? Most people say if you're alone with a computer, if you want to type into the chat how long you should spend on alone with a computer, it'd be very interesting to see. But a lot of people would type in 45 minutes. I don't know how you guys feel about that, but if you're going home after work, 40 minutes, 45 minutes might be the time that you spend at the computer. And 3 hours might be quite a long time to spend online. Okay, what's the pedagogic purpose of the mode? So clearly, my view is completely different to the view of Cambridge University Press. There, the online teaches the lesson points. In my view, the teacher teaches the lesson points and the online is there to practice. So it's just clarifying it in your mind. Yeah, that's really nice. Yeah, different times that you could spend. Yeah, 45 minutes and so on. Okay, parallel and isolated are two terms if you're interested in, they're in this book. But what they mean is when you're blending, you might be blending everything together. Look at the writing sequence that we had earlier where you start the writing online, then you come into the classroom, and then you go back out to the online platform. So that would be one way, for example. And then isolated, I'll give you an example of isolated. Warwick University set up a course in China, and that's where you isolate one skill and you just do that in one place. So what they decided for their course is listening and reading is all online. All the listening is online. There are all your audios, there are all your videos. That's how we work. Reading, all the texts are online, print them out. Okay, and that's what you do. Okay, and then you could have speaking in class and writing in class. And that's how they created an online course. That would be an example of isolated, where you just take one mode and only work there. We've been doing more like a sequence. You're doing writing, you do some writing in class, some writing online, some writing in class, some writing online. So that would be parallel. So course design is massive. How will the modes be arranged in the timetable? The optimum length of time for each session. Look at the chat, guys. Lots and lots of ideas coming in there for how much you should spend online. How many sessions will the timetable? Everybody's situation will be different. So it'd be just interesting to read about this. And how much choice will the learners be given in the blend? So at the moment, if you are 70-30, and you love the classroom and you never do your homework. Can you imagine such a student? Then actually, they're only doing a face-to-face course 70% in the classroom because they never do their homework. They never do the online anyway because it's optional. Are you going to allow this student to continue, or will you slap them and throw them off the course and say, if you don't do your homework, never come back? Okay, how the modes complement each other, the methodology, all of these things are just things to think about when you are designing your course. So Burgos, where will your course take place? Probably in cyberspace. There'll never be a time when they come to see you, or maybe there will. And then sustainability is a very interesting question, which is if you design a course and it takes a long time, you may decide, well, you will never have the luxury of doing this again. Your course is just a one-off course. Whereas the course we've created for you guys on English 360, we can press a button and it says copy, and it's ready for the next group of people. So this is highly sustainable. We can run the course again. We've invested this money. So sustainability is a factor. So that's the second part of the framework. That's by far the biggest part, and many teachers forget the other two steps. So that's why it's really useful to see it all. The second one is helping the teachers and the students. Do you have teacher training? Who will design the course? Well, do you have to train the teachers? What the interactional patterns will be. And it's very interesting that I feel very strange at the moment, guys, because I feel as though I'm talking at you. Sorry about that. That's just time. But my interactional patterns in a class have all got pair work and group work. But I haven't had the same interactional patterns in this class, this virtual class. So this is what one's thinking about at this point, and what the learners and teachers' roles will be. And one of the mistakes that Claire said she made, she always thought the teacher taught. What's clear with blended learning in our courses, we're teaching each other. I'm learning from you guys about Schoology. I'm learning from you about the DynEd materials. You know, now teachers and students learn from each other far more in education. How autonomous are your students? Many people say the more autonomous they are, the more they'll get out of blended learning because they're used to working on their own. How will you support them? And how will the teachers be supported? Because that's what happened in Spain. Everybody forgot that to use English 360, we just threw you in, guys. Hope you survived in English 360, but you actually have to have training. You know, how do you work the platform and so on. And finally, the evaluation. So actually giving your students the possibility that they can fill in a final questionnaire. So guys, that's the only thing that you're expected to do in week 4. It's just to not too much, I hope. I hope it's not too much. Just to write everything down in you know, one assignment task. Everything is there for you. We've put 1,000 words, but it could be 1,200. But please don't write too much. What we're really interested in seeing is if the course changed you in any way. If you had any insights into your practice, or just verbalizing your practice. This is why we blended. This is what we chose to do. And this is how we've done it. And this is how we do the teacher training. And then how do you evaluate the course? And that's often forgotten about. Asking the students if they liked the online, if they liked the tutor part of the course. So here's the most important date for you guys. On May the 8th, please take out a handkerchief at this point. Your course will vanish forever. But the course on the English 360 platform will go away and you'll not be able to get in. But please remember, I am here. If you forget anything, just drop me an email. Of course, I'll be able to find it and send it to you. It's not a problem. So choose what you'd like to do. Here's one possibility. If you are completely up to date with your course and you're ready for last week, then it's easy. You just write your assignment and send it by May the 8th. And then you close your computer and you've taken your 1-month course. But because I'm on holiday, I don't mind if you take another week. So if you're behind in any way and you want to spend next week going back, doing different things, that's absolutely fine. There's an automatic extended deadline because I'm so sorry, guys. When I'm on holiday in Asia, I won't read your assignments. I'd love to, but my partner will kill me if I just print out all the assignments in the hotel. So you automatically get an extended deadline. 2 weeks from today, I'll come back. I'll print out all your assignments. So just remember, please, to email the assignment to me. Don't use the platform. Yes, it says, shall we email it? And Burgos has asked that. And I would say, yes, please, Burgos. And yes to everybody. Just do your assignment in Word and send it as an attachment. Okay? So I can't believe it, guys. We've come to the end. It's 4 o'clock in British time. I would just say, when you finish, thanks, Burgos, for already offering to do feedback on our course. If you have 5 minutes next week or in a couple of weeks, please just click on open the questionnaire. You can imagine how quick this is, that it will just be a very quick questionnaire. But we would love to hear from you guys. You're very important to us. You're the first cohort. You are the first 12 people who've taken this course. And we won't be upset or angry if you said, we needed more help here or we needed more help there. That's okay, because we're learning. We're trying to set the course up. So please fill in the questionnaire. What would you like to do in the future? Have you subscribed to our Blended Learning newsletter? If you haven't, please subscribe. Do that. Just go to our website, click on that picture, and then you can fill in this form and you can subscribe. It's free, and the next Blended Learning newsletter is coming out on June the 1st. There are 4 every year. So you can keep up to date with developments in Blended Learning. And guys, if you do something, say you did something out in Venezuela, for example, that was influenced by this course and you feel happy and you want to tell the world, just drop me an email. Fauzi, I can see you there. If you suddenly decide to do an ESP course, or Nadia, you want to do something, then just drop me a mail and we can incorporate your little paragraph into our newsletter, Tell the World. I have a Facebook page about blended learning, and I want to keep that up to date. And also, would you like to keep in touch? Now, my personal feeling is I would love to keep in touch with you 12 people, because I think we started to get to know each other. But I think that maybe we haven't even begun to explore the different ways that we could just say hi and so on. So I'm going to delegate Jesus. Look at your name. If you're not there, I'm going to email you and say, Jesus, please set up a little group on Facebook. Invite only us. Okay, I think we can allow Kevin and Barney to join us. And it just means if any of us are traveling to the other person's country or bringing out a paper or something, we can just always be in touch with each other just from these pages. And we should maybe give ourselves 6 months, maybe up to a year, where we know it's alive, that we have a Facebook meeting place. So that's the end of the webinar. I'll leave you with a final question, and you can type your answer into the chat room if you like. I am ready for you to tell me where I'm going. If you don't know, I'm not going to tell you, and I'll tell you when I get back. But just to say, 24 hours I am here. Just to say, I'm here next to my computer. So if you have a question, email me. You know, if you're sending in your homework, then email me. So I'm not going to Thailand. No, I've been to Thailand, but yes, it's somewhere in Asia, and it's Cambodia. So well done to Fauzi. You wrote Cambodia. So Fauzi is right. I'm going to finish by typing in the English way of saying that into the chat room. Oh, I've sent it only to Marta. Let me send it to everybody. So, guys, please forgive me if over the next 2 weeks you don't hear much from me, but I am here. And as I say, please send in any questions that you have. So, I'll say goodbye to everybody.
Goodbye.
It's been lovely working with you.
Nice working with you.
Thank you. Good luck with your final assignment.
Thank you very much, Pete. And
Hope to see you. Yeah, hope to see you guys sometime soon.
Bye-bye.
Yeah.
All
Nice
right,
to
take
meet you
care.
all.
Bye all.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everybody. Bye-bye. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Let's keep in touch. Okay.
Who's
Bye,
got
guys.
Who's got the dog?
Bye. Good doggy.
Who's got the dog?
Who let the dogs out?
Bye. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye. Thank you very much, Pete.
Thank
you, Kevin.
You're welcome. Thank you.
I'll be waiting for you here in Monterey, okay?
Sounds like a plan. Yeah,
We
hang
promise.
on. Just gonna book my ticket.
Okay, good.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.